Very warm welcome to everyone from my side. My name is Avinash, and I'm one of the co-founder of Smart Software Testing Solutions, which owns the product pCloudy.com. It's really encouraging to see such a large number of attendees, which means that the topic and the problem statement of this webinar resonates with the audience. And I'm sure we are going to have an enriching session. Thanks a lot for joining in. Uh, though this mode of webinar is a one-way communication, but you can share your views and questions through the questions tab in the GoToWebinar panel. You can also send your messages through chat if you're facing any problem in terms of audio or visual quality. So with this, let's get started. And the topic of today's webinar is quality at speed, which has been a challenge for organizations, especially in the context of mobile app testing. But we are going to solve it today for mobile apps. So for that, you need to be there with me for next 30 minutes, where we are going to give you a quick snapshot of what pCloudy as a product is. We'll discuss about what is the quality at speed or better, faster conundrum. What are the roadblocks which deters us from achieving quality at speed in the context of mobile apps? And most part of this session we are going to spend on how are we going to actually solve the problems, and we are going to solve the problems using the platform pCloudy.com. So with this agenda, let's move to the introduction, a quick snapshot of what pCloudy is all about. So pCloudy fundamentally is a device cloud which can be used to test all kind of applications, native, hybrid, mobile app, PWA. Users can perform various kind of testing activities, starting from manual testing to finding out device coverage for their app testing, test automation, both creation as well as execution, and they can also use pCloudy to get real user feedback through in-field crowd testing. There are two modes of access to the platform. Primary mode is through a web interface where you can access the platform using a web URL. This is typically used by QA teams, but we also have interface for developers where they use plugins like Android Studio, Xcode, and now Cordova to directly access pCloudy devices from their development environment. We have various flavors of the product, and one of the most popular flavor is our public cloud, where we have more than 500 plus real devices, and we are very proud to say that we have one of the widest variety of devices in the world. Most of the devices are having real SIMs, so you can test your applications not only on Wi-Fi network but also on real cellular operator networks. The devices are spread across 4 locations: India, US, Australia, and Philippines, and we are adding more locations as we go on. There are other flavors of the platform. Depending on the organization need, you can choose between public cloud or other flavors like on-premise cloud and a private cloud. So with this quick snapshot of the product, we'll move to the actual topic of discussion, the quality speed conundrum. And traditionally, the term speed and quality is not used together. It's always a trade-off between quality and speed. But now we live in a different world, and the questions are increasingly asked that why can't both exist? And what better way to explain that it can coexist than to talk about the achievement of F1 teams. So what you see here is a real-time video of the pit stop team changing all 4 tires and refueling the F1 car within just 1.92 seconds. And this was achieved by Felipe Massa of Williams, and they had broken the record of Red Bulls of 2.05 seconds. 2.05 second itself was a record, and they have achieved lower than that. And what it proves is, and can there be a chance of error in this situation? So what this metaphor proves is there is definitely a way to achieve quality at the speed which gives organizations a real benefit. Now, how does this fit in the relevant in the context of mobile apps? So if we talk about mobile apps, I mean, we all know the consumers of mobile apps have very little patience for bad mobile experience. So people can wait for 15 minutes in a queue if they are buying something from a store. But if a mobile app takes more time to load the catalog, the customers will ditch the app in no time. So increasingly, in recent times, quality is becoming a key driver for organizations to increase adoption of their mobile apps among their consumers. So apart from the fact that organizations spend a lot of time in marketing to do the customer acquisition, making sure that the apps are of highest quality is one of the key drivers to drive the adoption. Now, moreover, there is another side of the story that consumers are spoiled for choices. For the same work that they want to do, they have so many options. So organizations and business teams wants the releases to be done faster, primarily to outdo the competition. So it's all about speed as well. So the question is, how do we balance, or how do we achieve quality with speed? Coming back to the same uh, conundrum, and this is true in context of mobile apps as well. But when we talk about achieving quality at speed, there are quite a number of roadblocks, especially in the context of mobile app testing. And I'm quoting Gartner here. One of the analysts of Gartner says that mobile testing is still an elephant in the room for a lot of organizations. They still have not been able to figure out what's the right strategy for a mobile app testing when we are talking about achieving the highest quality with the faster speed. So what are some of the common roadblocks that we get? Some of the challenges are quite widely talked about. So something like device fragmentation. We all know the problems that mobile apps have to be tested across variety of device combinations. Then automation challenges, primarily because the tools are not mature enough to handle end-to-end cases, especially related to gestures or cases dependent on device hardware interactions such as audio, camera, accelerometer, etc. So mobile automation itself cannot cover the end-to-end use cases. Then there are other challenges which are quite significant in case of mobile apps. So something like network performance. So typically customers will be using the mobile apps with cellular networks, and networks are quite unpredictable and they exhibit wide variations in bandwidth and latency. So users in different location can observe different performance issues. A lot of times we have seen it leads to crashes and very bad customer experience. So how do you ensure that your app works in all such situations? User experience testing, because the app adoption is driven a lot by what reviews are given on App Store. So even though you have tested in lab, do you know the real user opinion? So before the app is launched in the market, it's always advisable to get real user opinion by pushing it to a crowd community or a beta community. So that is where the user experience testing comes into picture. And one of the very unique aspect of mobile app is testing on various contexts, because apps are very contextual. For example, I'm developing an app where my consumers are going to use while they're traveling in a bus or metro, which means a lot of times users will be using the app while they are standing with one hand. So is my UI designed to handle one hand scenario? with just one, by customers using it using one finger. So apps are very contextual, or other scenarios where it's designed for factories where they're going to use it while they're wearing gloves. So have we thought about those scenarios as well, and how do we test those? Then increasingly uh, apps nowadays are designed to work in conjunction with some additional devices, which means your end-to-end integration testing becomes very complex. So you do not only need to test your application, but whether it works with all those devices like your bands and other wearables, uh, those also needs to be validated, and it increases the integration complexity significantly. Operator environment, again, a lot of times operators change their network speed depending on which app are you using. So you would have seen the Facebook zero bandwidth concept. So similar concepts are present with other operators as well, which can cause a lot of issues with the application. And lastly, all these new updates that keep happening very frequently, which means it's not just about changes within your app, you are also dependent on the updates that are given by operating systems like Android and iOS. So these are the roadblocks which are very, very unique to mobile applications, which makes it very difficult to achieve the desired quality with the speed that business is asking for. So the question is, in whatever current situation that you are in, can you beat your own speed in testing without compromising on the quality? I am saying right now here that it's definitely possible. Whatever speed that you are achieving, you can better it with the solution that we are going to present. And that's what we are going to talk next. So let's talk about the first challenge, where we talked about device fragmentation. So one of the big challenge any teams faces is, how do we find the optimum device coverage? How many devices that I should use for my testing? And pCloudy comes up with a solution called Device Planner, which can be a good starting point to decide your optimum test coverage. And here it is. Here how it works. So if you log into pCloudy, within that you'll see an option called Device Planner within Devices tab. Within a single click, where you just need to select your country information, you can get the list of devices in order of market penetration. So you can see here, in case of India, Xiaomi Redmi 3S is one of the most used devices, which has 4.66% penetration, and it keeps changing. So we have a way of tracking the real-time data of device usage across various countries, and you can use this information to plan your device coverage. Now you can mix this data with the data that you can get from your marketing team, which they can fetch from platforms like App Store Analytics, and you can combine these two data points to create your optimum device coverage. But there's no point second guessing the number of devices that you should use. These are the scientific ways of achieving the right device coverage, and pCloudy has that information for you on a single click. So now you have the right device set decided. You know which devices I should be using for testing, but where do I get these devices from? That's a bigger question. There are various options. You can buy the devices, you can get it on rent, or third option is use a cloud. But if I don't need to mention that there are several studies or reports and various case studies which clearly proves that device cloud is the most effective way of finding variety of devices. Not only it's cost effective, it's scalable, and it fits well in your testing strategy. So again, coming back to what pCloudy offers, so pCloudy has more than 500 plus devices available on the cloud across multiple locations, available with real SIMs, And the way we have designed our device metrics, that you will be able to find out a device across various operating systems, OEMs, screen sizes, as I said, network, and across various locations. So again, finding a device on pCloudy is a single click task. Fine, I got the devices on cloud, but I have my apprehensions. In the sense, is device cloud the most efficient way? Will it slow down my speed of testing? That's one of the doubts a lot of teams have, especially using a cloud solution. I would say it's a myth, and I'm going to prove that to you with an example, and you can try that on your own as well. So let's take a scenario, typical scenario that is used in a manual testing case. So how do you test it on a device in hand? You connect your device to a local system through USB cables. You install your app using the local machine. You download the app from some link that you would be getting from your dev team or your GitHub repository on your local machine. And from there, you generally push it to device, or you'll open the URL on the device and download it directly on the device in hand. That's the second step. Third step is you'll go through the flow of the application depending on the test case that you want to execute. You'll find certain issues, bugs, you'll take screenshots. Then when you start logging the bugs, typically you will have to attach the device logs as well along with the screenshots. So if you take a look at this typical scenario, which is one of the most basic use case of any manual testing scenario, uh, let's see how do we do it on the cloud, and what kind of speed that you can get. And you can try that versus try the steps on a local device versus cloud and see how much speed you get. So in case of pCloudy, the device access is again single click task where you find a device on the remote access screen and then click on connect. You reach this page, which we call it remote device interaction page. On this page, installation is a single click task. So you click on install. You would have uploaded the device on the drive, or you can upload it right now itself. And once you click on install, the app gets installed on the device. So there is no need to fire any command. Uh, it's again single click. Now, once the app is installed, you can monitor the log in real time again by just clicking on the log tab on the right side of the screen. You can see, and there is a icon, click to initialize log streaming. If you click that, it starts capturing the log in real time, which you can download it at any point of time. And in any case, it's getting stored in the report folder. So finding out the log along with your test case flow is extremely easy here, just single click. Uh, we talked about third step where you need to take screenshots. So screenshots are also available on a single click. You can take screenshot. The screenshot is available in this next side screen itself. There you can just click on edit, and you can mark the area where you see there is a bug which you want to highlight to your developers. That edited screenshot is saved, and then you can click on log a bug. And right now we support integration with Jira and some of the other open source tools, but Jira is the most widely used tool as of now with our platform. So once you click on log a bug, it takes you to a different screen where you can just mention the bug details, and you can immediately attach the log and the screenshots directly from this interface. So you don't need to download to your machine and then start logging the bug by opening a new interface. It will directly log this bug to your Jira credential or your Jira account. So we saw the steps that we mentioned as a typical scenario, and you can see everything that we talked about in that scenario is available on a single click. Not only that, there are so many other options which could be very useful for you while you are testing, and these are typically the advanced testing scenarios For example, on the left side, you can see you can run monkey tests, you can change the location of the device, you can fire your ADB command, you can toggle between Wi-Fi and cellular phones while you are testing your scenario. So you can use it for a lot of advanced testing, simulate all the advanced testing use cases like interrupts, etc. Again, everything is available on a single click, which is very difficult to do it when you are working on a physical device in hand. So not only the typical scenarios that we discussed is achievable in a much quicker time, the interface here will allow you to do much more advanced testing. So coming back to the challenge 3, speed of testing on cloud, what we have observed, and this is proven by a lot of customer stories, that when the customers start using the device in the cloud and start using all the options that we have, they have been able to achieve almost 30% faster speed, which is a great feat considering the manual testing use cases. That's one part of it. So far we have spoken about increasing the speed by 30% faster. But what about, so this till now we were kind of driving our car in second or third gear, but what if you want to move to fifth gear? And this is where uh, our next features, which is a kind of game-changing feature, uh, I'll introduce to the audience. So typically the manual testing is done either on a handheld device that we just discussed, or a device on a cloud. But generally it's about one person using one device at a time. But what if you have an option to run your manual test cases on multiple devices together? That is where you go in a fifth gear, and it completely changes the game for you. So we have a feature called multi-view. We also call it follow me, where you can select your application, then select your devices. And here, as you can see, we are selecting multiple devices. And once you have selected multiple devices, you can set one device as a master device, which means the actions on the master will be followed on other selected devices. And here we go. Now we are able to see all three devices in one screen. So earlier what we saw was a testing on one device. Here we are talking about manual testing on three devices together. So you can just perform action on the master device, which is on the left side of the screen, and all the actions will be performed on the slave devices as well. And you can do your visual verification in real time within one screen. Just imagine the speed that you'll get, the kind of time that you'll save comparing the comparison that you must be doing right now by downloading the screenshots from different devices and then compare, or open two tabs and then compare the screenshots, etc. All that effort is completely gone. So this feature, follow me, or multi-view testing, takes your just increases the speed to a different level altogether. So that's why I called we are moving to a fifth gear. That's great. So from 30%, this can just increase the efficiency to 300%. But what about, what's the next step and what's the next stage? Can I forget gears at all and just race like a F1 driver? Yes, of course. pCloudy now has the capability of testing with bots, which means you can make bots your friends and use them to speed up your testing. So we have the bots which can give you real-time insights into apps behavior and performance. The bots are using AI-driven technology to run test cases on your application, and it captures all possible data while the test cases are executed, and which you can use it to analyze the results further. So this is how it works. We call it Certifier, and this is how the screen looks like. So in the center of it, you see a black screen where you can select a black patch where you can select the application which you want the bots to test for. And once you have selected the application, so for example, I have selected bms.apk, you can provide certain test data depending on whether your application needs test data or not. For example, if the application requires login, you can provide that. You can add more data sets if your application needs. The bot will automatically identify the data sets and use it during the test execution process. And that's it. You don't need to do anything else. You have given the application, you have given the data sets, you just sit back and relax. Once the testing is complete, you'll get a complete detailed analysis of the application behavior, which has been on variety of devices. So as you can see here in the dashboard, this application was run on almost 7 devices within 15 minutes. So within 15 minutes, you get a comprehensive result on large set of devices. So here it was 7, but it can be increased to any number. And you can see the result in terms of how the CPU was performing, how the memory was performing, battery, network. And then you can get into more detail as to what exactly was the execution status on a specific device. So here you can see Motorola Moto Z Play. The install was successful, the crash test was passed, uninstall was successful. And then if you go further down the report, you will have all the screenshots of the flow which was executed, along with a detailed report on all the network parameters like battery, CPU, performance parameters like network, CPU, battery, frame rendering, etc. So you can start using bot to speed up your testing, and this is an extremely efficient way to run some of your sanity cases as soon as you get a new build. While you can still go ahead with your regression tests or your new feature test. You can use the bot to get some initial sanity done, and if there are some major failures, you can immediately report it back to your dev team, or you can pass or fail your builds itself. So this just takes the testing at a different level, and as the bot is becoming more and more intelligent, you can use it more effectively. So coming back to the same question, the challenge 3 around speed of testing on cloud. So do you still feel device cloud is the most efficient way? Do you still have a doubt if the device cloud is the most efficient way? I would now say that you try yourself and see whether the claims made here are correct or not. But we have seen this working in a lot of customer scenarios, and there are quite a number of success stories around this. Moving on to the next set of challenge. So we talked about manual testing, and there are different ways of increasing the speed of manual testing using the follow me or a bot test. But using a device cloud, you can really increase the test parameters. So far we saw functional testing aspect of it, but is that enough? When we talk about the app quality, functional is just one parameter. Most of the cases, the users are concerned about the performance of the application on the device, and that really irritates them when the application takes time to load or it consumes a lot of battery of their device. They just hate those kind of scenarios. So the question is, can you increase your testing parameters to something like application performance? Yes, of course. pCloudy gives you a single click access of performance analysis, where you can start tracking application wise memory, CPU, network usage, battery consumption, and frame rendering data. And we give you, so right now what you see here is a very high level detail, but if you go and see the reports that are generated, you have much more granular data as to what is the memory usage breakup across native, your heap. All that breakup is available in the report. Same in case of CPU. So what is app CPU, what is the device CPU, and then you can see the trend as you perform your test cases. So you can monitor the performance data in real time, and you can also take a look at the report for much deeper analysis. So app performance is available on single click, which can increase the testing coverage for you or testing parameters for you. Not only that, you can also test your application both from functional and non-functional side on various network conditions. So we talked about network uh, performance as a challenge for mobile applications. So one way is to do it in field, but before you do that, that's definitely advisable. But before you do that, can you simulate some of the scenarios in your lab condition? And this is available again on a single click, where you can actually use various network profiles that we provide. So something like 4G Australia, or there are other profiles like 3G good, 3G average, or 2G urban. So you can actually use your application in conjunction with these network profiles and see how your application is performing. And we have seen so many corner cases coming up once you start using different network profiles, especially a lot of crashes are reported when the testing is done with various network profiles. And while you are testing, you can quickly switch between one network profile to other and see how the transition is working. So that kind of next level in-field testing can also be done within the lab situation using the device cloud, and you can really minimize a lot of issues which can only be detected in an in-field scenario, and fixing that at that stage takes a lot of effort and cost. So this way you can increase the parameters of testing by including functional and non-functional aspect of testing along with the different network parameters. Now we are coming to the next aspect of mobile app testing challenge, automation. And we talked about device fragmentation at the beginning, and we all know that the testing has to be done on variety of devices. The question is, how do you achieve that with every change that happens? The only way it can be achieved is through automation. But a lot of times organizations do the mistake of solving the automation challenges quite late in the cycle. So my suggestion is solve the automation challenges early. And one of the way to do is to use tools which gives you very easy way to write your automation scripts, typically in a codeless way, so that most of your team members can start participating in automation, rather than few folks who know Java or a .NET or a Ruby can only write automation scripts. Then figure out a way to parallelly executing the automation test on multiple devices. Of course, a lot of organizations prefer emulators to run their automation scripts, but emulators are not sufficient. So if you can run it on real devices, that's the best possible option. So look for ways to maximize your automation on real devices, and the automation tools should be able to support agile and DevOps environments. It means you should be able to trigger with your continuous integration or build systems. So again, pCloudy has something completely inbuilt, which we call it Automation Studio, and it's named OpKey. So from within pCloud interface, you can launch the Automation Studio. It takes you to a screen where you can access pCloudy device in conjunction with the Automation Studio, and you can start doing recording as the first step, which means you can just record the flow on your application without writing any single line of code. And it works like a charm, where you just perform the operation and you have all the scripts ready. Once the script is ready, you from the same interface you can actually run the recorded script on devices in parallel, again without putting any effort. So the platform takes care of it in terms of executing it on parallel devices, and all the logic is inbuilt. So just imagine the time saved to figure out how to run devices in parallel. We have seen organizations spending so much effort building frameworks to achieve this state. So this execution wizard shows you that we can select so many devices in parallel and run that, and you get the report back within the studio itself. So I'm not going into too much of detail. Each topic can be a separate demo in itself, but at a high level, what we just saw was that you can create your scripts on a real device with just few clicks, and you can execute it on parallel devices. Not only that, let's say you are using some other framework like Appium, and you can still use this automation studio to speed up your Appium automation. So whatever recording that you do, you can actually export that in various languages. Right now, we have released the Java version where you can export the scripts recorded in a Java format, and it exports it in a format which is used by Appium. So you can just directly copy paste in your Appium project and your scripts are done. So rather than writing the keywords in Appium, you can just record and paste it, and then you can do your modifications. So again, it not only helps the teams which are looking to automate fresh by using Automation Studio independently, but if someone has already used Appium, they can use the Automation Studio to speed up their automation process by exporting it in their own, in their respective languages, and then using it in their framework. Last, real user opinion. We talked about the importance of real user opinion, which is extremely important for mobile apps. So what is very important is to get real feedback from the users who are in field before launch happens. And typically the organizations, what they do is once the testing is complete within from their internal teams, before they launch or they push the application to app stores, they go and use the beta community or crowd community to get the feedback. So the crowd community platform, which we call it Crowd for Test, is already integrated within pCloudy. So you can use that in conjunction with your internal testing. So while you do your internal testing using pCloudy devices, once you see that the testing results are good enough and the product is in a stable state, you can pass it on to the crowd community through pCloudy platform and get the feedback. So this enhances your existing test capabilities, and you get efficient results from various different field conditions, which sometimes is difficult to find in a lab scenario. So with this, we are covering the last challenge as well, where the organizations can use the platform to get real user opinion. So these were the main challenges which we talked about at the beginning of quality at speed conundrum, and we saw how pCloudy can solve those challenges uh, by focusing on quality, where it helps you increase the test coverage, and at the same time giving you an ability to increase the speed. So I would say as a summary that quality at speed can coexist for mobile application. You need to find out right tools which can solve the mobile app testing roadblocks. And of course, pCloudy can solve those roadblocks. And we saw some of the challenges like testing on right set of devices, ensuring functional compatibility by testing it on various devices in a much lesser time by using features like follow me or bots. You can increase your test parameters, like you can include app performance, network simulation testing within your test coverage. You can automate tests without writing code. We talked about bots. You can get health check of application using bots. And finally, you can get real user feedback from uh, real user feedback before the app is launched in the market. So we have a full life cycle coverage of app testing needs. Again, emphasizing that it will help you improve the quality, while one of the focus area that we have is how do we increase the speed of testing for the customers. So with that thought, I'll close the session. I'm more than happy to take your questions. We have 10 minutes time to take up your questions, and feel free to let your views come through the chat window or the question and answer window. Thank you so much for joining in. So there is a question from Pankaj. The question is around automation, the codeless automation part. So the question is, what all kind of application it supports? So the Automation Studio can be used for both kind of applications, Android and iOS, and all application types, like your native, hybrid, or mobile web. Adding to this question, just to give you more information about it, the Automation Studio in itself uh, is a full-fledged automation tool. So it's not just about record and playback. Once you record the scripts, you can actually enhance the scripts by adding your own statements or keywords, which we call it. You can also add certain logics. You can data drive it. So whatever that you need for an advanced automation as an advanced automation capability, it's already present in the Automation Studio. So for this demonstration purpose, I talked about record and playback, but it has everything that you need to create an advanced automation project. Thanks, Pankaj, for asking this. The next question is from Arjun. So the question is, how does crowd testing work? So here, what we are doing is we have integrated a platform named crowdfortesting.com. So from pCloudy interface itself, you can push your application, and you need to provide certain parameters in terms of what are your preferred locations, what kind of coverage you are looking at in terms of device operating system combinations. So there are a list of questions that you need to fill, and then you can also provide more information about your requirement document or any design document that you want to attach. It will be published to the crowd community depending on the criteria that you have given, and typically it takes anything between 1 day to 3 day right now, which we are trying to reduce it to less than 4 hours. But within 1 to 3 days, you will start getting the results from the real user community. So as and when this see a feedback, they will start logging the issues or the bugs in the Crowd4Test platform, and you will start seeing the results in a dashboard. We also have a way of validating the issues which are reported by community, because there could be duplicate issues. So we remove those duplicate issues. So finally, you get a filtered list of issues once the testing cycle is complete. So within 1 to 3 days, you can get a comprehensive result from the market. And you can, if you want, you can repeat the activity once you have fixed the issues, and the community can validate it again. So all such options are available as part of crowd testing. There is one more question around pCloudy network simulation. So the question is, can the users create their own profile? So yes, so right now you can request our support team with your profile data, and they can create it for you. But very soon we are opening it for users, where they can create their own profiles, and it will be only visible to that specific user, and they can use it for their testing. Right now, what we have done is, based on our own research, we have seeded certain predefined profiles which are widely used by customers, and we keep getting requests. So depending on if we see certain profiles which can be used by a larger community, we seed it as a pre-configured profile. So that's the process right now, but very soon we'll be releasing a feature where users can create their own profile. There is one more question around the multi-view testing. Follow me. The question is, can it be only 3 devices at a time, or can we select more than 3 devices? Technically, yes, you can. Technically, it's possible to select more devices. The only challenge that we see right now is the UI layout, and that's where we have restricted it to 3 device. Very soon, we'll be kind of reworking on the multi-view UI so that we can have more devices. We can fit more devices within one within the screen layout, and when that happens, you'll be able to test it on more devices together. So the technology that we have cracked can be used to test on any number of devices in parallel when you're doing multiple devices. It's just a question of how effectively can we use the UI layout. So I'll take one or two more questions, and then we'll kind of close the session. If there are some more questions, we'll reach out to you in person. So there is a question: can we use pCloudy to test Windows and Linux OS with multiple browsers? So right now, pCloudy is all about mobile applications, and the platforms that we support right now is Android and iOS. But within Android and iOS, you can select any kind of browsers. So each device comes pre-configured with all the popular browsers like Chrome, Safari, Dolphin, Opera. So you can choose between those browsers. But if your question is around accessing pCloudy from a Windows or Linux OS machines, it's definitely possible. It's just about opening the URL. So one more question around Certifier. Is Certifier part of OpKey? No, so Certifier is part of pCloudy. In fact, OpKey is also part of pCloudy. So from if you have a credentials or your account with pCloudy, you can access both Certifier as well as OpKey. So there is no separate login or credentials required. However, there are so package-wise, these are restricted to certain kind of packages. But if you're a paid customer, you can always request the access, and we can provide the access to you. There is a question from Saikat, I guess. How can the add-on Bluetooth devices be testing using pCloudy? So yes, a lot of customers do that. So there are two kind of scenarios that customers test with. So since our devices are located in data centers, they are located in trays, and most of the devices are in a distance where Bluetooth connections are possible. So you can open two devices and then start interacting between these two devices using Bluetooth, and both the devices are from pCloudy. The second option is a lot of times our customers have given us their wearable devices. For example, we test for certain customers who are developing the smart bands. So they have given us the bands which are put in data centers, and then you open a device and create a sync with the bands. So that kind of testing is possible with pCloudy. Public cloud, but if you are choosing a private cloud and an on-premise cloud, you have a lot more flexibility because you can set up your devices along with a device lab that we provide, and it can be used in much more flexible way. So there is a question around what is the best way to test Trivia gaming application. So yeah, I mean, there are certain limitations to a cloud, especially when you are looking at gaming application testing, mainly from manual testing perspective. Mobile cloud could be a challenge, but if you're running automation scripts, then if you have developed automation scripts for gaming application, you can run it on devices, and then you can achieve your parallel result in a very short period of time. So we advise our customers to use more and more automation for gaming application, but automation itself is a challenge. But if you have cracked the automation for gaming application, you can run it on cloud. There are certain pieces of gaming application like testing it for install or crash testing using the monkey tool that we provide, or the bot that we have. You can use that for finding out such corner cases or crash scenarios. But a very detailed manual testing is definitely difficult on a mobile cloud. Then there is a question: how do you provide local region support in various geos, or is it from India? So as I mentioned in the beginning, we have devices across various locations. So right now we are supporting 4 locations: India, US, Australia, and Philippines. And in each of these regions we have our own data center along with a support team. So that's about the device cloud. But if you're talking about using a crowd community, we have crowd community across the globe. So we have 10,000 plus users on the cloud who are located across the globe. So from the device perspective, we can support you in those 4 regions. But from crowd perspective, you can just ask for any location in the world. Then there is one more question. Uh, for bot testing, what is the procedure to provide the scenarios I want to execute? So right now, we are not asking users to provide the scenarios. The bot traverses through the application and figures out the flows on its own. And that is where we are asking users to just provide the test data sets, because if sometimes if you're not entering right data, the application will not allow you to move to the next screen. So users need to just make sure that they have entered all the right set of test data while they are uploading the application in the certifier screen. But apart from that, the bot will run the scenario on its own. We are coming up with a new version of the bot where this is exactly what we are going to provide, that if you want bot to execute certain specific flows, you can train that. And once you train that, the bot will then use that specific scenario to execute it on different devices. So it will be just a one-time effort to train the bot, and then bot will take care of it. But right now, the objective of the bot is to explore the application as much as possible and then find out all those corner crash scenarios. So right now, the bot just does the action on its own completely. Great. Um, Thanks for participating in the webinar and sharing your questions. There are a few more questions that are coming up, but we'll be answering that in a by reaching you through your email IDs. And you can also drop in your questions later on the mail that you get from the webinar support. Or you can reach out to me. My email ID is avinash.tiwari@pcloudy.com. So thank you so much for joining in and participating so actively. You can always go and take a trial of pcloudy.com. So there is a free trial available. If you need extended trial, just reach out to the support team through the portal itself. We'll be able to provide much more broader access, but that's only available on request. So I would really encourage all of you to just try all that we have built as part of pCloudy and see for yourself what can you achieve in your testing scenario. And I'm sure it will help you take your testing to the next level. So with this thought, thank you again. Thanks for joining in. See you in the next webinar.